Next, we're going to talk about the analog filter. Now, you may have heard in my videos about the digital oscillator that I was so excited about the fact that the digital oscillator allows you to do so many interesting things with harmonic content because of the nature of these different types of digital oscillator that I questioned why even have a filter. And to be honest, I'll stand by that because certainly if you're going for interesting harmonic changes, sometimes a high pass, low pass, etc. filter is kind of the least interesting way to do that. And you have the option in some of these digital oscillators to get in and deal individually with harmonics in interesting ways that a big sweeping wash away of specific harmonics in a sort of wholesale diminishment of harmonic amplitude is not as interesting in comparison. However, the fact that they did include an analog filter is good for a number of reasons. Number one, the analog filter is going to add a character to the digital oscillators, and let's face it, digital oscillators can be a little bit incisive. That's my term for digital oscillators. Incisive. I hear people say thin, and to me it just drives me crazy because it's like looking at an orchestra and saying, why don't these, piccolo flutes sound like the trombones? They don't have a trombone character at all. And it's like, well, no, they don't, because that's not what they're for. And digital oscillators, you're going crazy hearing me say this, but to be honest, digital synth sounds have a place. And they're useful, and they fill in gaps that, a big, fat analog synthesizer can't touch. And in many ways, there's the possibility for more complex or interesting sounds, even if they're not a big, creamy dollop of, analog 24 decibel per octave, whatever. Anyway, the point about I was in the midst of a list, as I recall, but I don't remember. But the cool thing about the analog filter is it can warm up some of the digital sounds if that's the way you want to go. Also, with you modulating the three different parts of the digital oscillators, you're getting all kinds of harmonic sweeps and filter-like behaviors. Here's one more opportunity to create motion in your sound using the filter again as a means of affecting the harmonic content of the sound. So if you're just going to do a typical analog synth wow sound, that's really boring. There are really interesting ways you can have this filter interact with the modulation of harmonic content that's already happening in the digital oscillators, which I'll do a demonstration after we go over the basic functionality and sound of the analog filter, which is going to happen right now. And I'm sure this is the point. Get ready to mark it down in the comments. Video starts at whatever. I'm sorry, do I sound bitter? Yeah. I'm inclined to believe that all of the things I'm saying are important, but every idiot says that, don't they? Anyway, let's dig into the filter. I'm going to cover this filter in the same way that I cover all filters. I've chosen a sawtooth sound. I'm just going to do a number of sweeps with a variety of the settings so you can hear what this filter sounds like. And then we'll go on to some of the things you can do with it. Okay, this is just a straight low-pass filter. Now, here's the point where I can't believe that this is a 12 decibel per octave filter because we're not getting any sound at all, which means all of the harmonics are gone and the fundamental is gone, which typically doesn't happen with 12 decibel per octave filters, but it could be some sort of the way that it's calibrated that allows that to be possible. I have no idea. Now let's listen to it with a quarter turn of resonance. Resonance halfway. Resonance 3/4. And then resonance in self-oscillation. Hopefully this won't be too loud. sort of that crunchy character that 12 decibel per octave filters often have when the resonance is causing the filter to be in self-oscillation. It sounds very cool. Kind of a desirable sound. That is a nice low pass filter sound. And of course, if you have a nice filter, then your synthesizer is going to benefit from that. But also, if you have a digital synthesizer, which the stability and clarity and high frequency content of digital oscillators sometimes can lend a more icy or more incisive, as I said, sound. So you can kind of, you don't have to do this, but you can warm it up a little bit with an analog filter. And this filter has 3 different filter types, which is very much to its credit. You don't want to get stuck with, these days, you don't want to get stuck with just a low pass filter. I'd hate to say that because so many of the great synthesizers have just a low pass filter, but you know, if you're going to make a new synthesizer, having more filter opportunities is awesome. So let's move on to bandpass. And of course, you know, I haven't pointed it out. We get sort of a graphic representation of our filter settings when we're using them. Here, let's try. Here, all the way at the bottom, we're still hearing some harmonics in the fundamental there, which means this is acting more in a 12 decibel per octave slope sort of way. Okay, let's give that a quarter turn of resonance. And as you'll remember, when you're using a bandpass filter, adding resonance it's basically a cue setting. It causes your band to become more pointed. Now we'll do halfway resonance. You'll also notice we're not getting any sort of stepping, even though this is a preset synthesizer, a synthesizer that has presets, which often means that the knobs are digitized. And in many analog synthesizers that have presets, you'll actually hear stepping. But we really haven't been hearing a whole lot of stepping sounds here. Okay, we'll turn it up to 3/4. Very nice. And we'll turn it all the way up, which you'll notice generates self-oscillation, which is not as common with bandpass filters in synthesizers. And last, we have the high-pass filter, which high-pass filters are extremely beneficial because you don't always want bass. Sometimes you want nasal sounds. Sometimes you want high, tinny sounds. Sometimes you want, bell-like tinkling, hissy sorts of sounds. And if you don't, you should. Okay, here we go. There's some moralizing for you. Okay, of course, with the high-pass filter, all the way to the bottom, has it so that all of the frequencies are being allowed through, and then turning it up tends to take away the low frequencies, as we'll hear. And like in the low pass filter, when we get to the top here, we're not getting any sound at all. Turn the resonance a quarter way up. Halfway up. 3/4 the way up. self-oscillation. So very powerful. And don't forget, people always use the high pass filter to sort of take a little bit of bass out of things to make it not muddy. But on synthesizers, I always endorse, if you watch my videos, you'll see me do it. I always endorse turning the resonance way up, because putting the resonance way up causes an amplification of the harmonic that is at the filter cutoff point. So with a low pass filter, that means there's an amplification at all of the high. As you sweep down towards the bottom, all of the high harmonics get a little boost. But in a high pass filter, you start off in the bass. So that means it actually gives a bass boost to have the resonance high in the high pass filter and your filter cutoff point low frequency wise. You can hear it kind of overdriving in that bass region. But yeah, you can hear it boosting the bass. If you want to get really freaky, we could go into the patch panel and assign the keyboard to control the filter cutoff point, at which point we'd be able to use the self-oscillation sine wave as part of the sound, which really adds low end.